Welcome to the Kings Beat Podcast, a Blue Wire podcast. I am James Ham, your Kings Insider for ESPN 1320 and the Kings Beat. Joining me this afternoon, KCRA 3's Sean Cunningham. What's going on, Sean?
Do you know earlier this week I had to cover my first curling? I wouldn't call it a match, but like assignment ever, like in Tahoe. And I don't know why I was there.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think I could go out right now and be a professional curler. I don't know like what skill that takes. It seems like it would take like 5 minutes to learn the game.
First of all, you're wrong because I don't think you could. You could walk on ice. I think also I've come to find out that curling people will bristle at that comment that you just made. And
of course
thirdly,
they will.
Don't call it human shuffleboard, which I didn't do. I knew better, but I felt like, that was.
Does that mean someone else did?
It's everyone I talked to. Oh, it's human shuffleboard. Yeah. And I asked a dumb question. Well, I thought it was a dumb question. That I think the guy was just being nice. First of all, we go up there. We're in Olympic Station. No Team USA representation because they have to go qualify next week. And this is like the Grand Slam of curling. So all these countries come in. It's in Tahoe. It's like one of the first times it's ever been on U.S. soil. Awesome. You didn't ask, but all these countries were men and women were. By the way, do you know the U.S. defending curling champions? That's like 1980 U.S. hockey stuff, right? That's like Miracle on Ice. How did that happen? Anyway, so it's this big event. We're covering it. We interviewed like 2 people from Canada, like Team Canada. Blame Canada. We talked to Canada, and that was our story. Me and Michelle Daffer went up there and did this story. But it took everything in my power to go. Is there strategy in the sense that you actually scout your opponent and like how the stone gets into the target area and all that? And then I said, is there like a gateway sport, not drug, gateway sport to getting to curling? Or do you just come out of the womb going, you know what, damn it, curling is my sport. I thought there'd be like, oh, I'm a failed figure skater or hockey player. You know what? I'm going to pick up curling because it's on ice. So I asked that question to somebody. I said, this is a dumb question. They're like, no, it's actually a really good question. So
I think the original question was, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, also joining us today, Brenden Nunes from the Kings Pulse podcast. Hi, Brenden.
Hello. I have no crazy stories. No, I do not think I could be a professional curler right now, but give me about a year. Maybe I can work my way, not towards professional, but whatever minors, whatever it may be.
I don't think there's a minor league. I think there are people who go, hey, I curl. And they're like, oh, do you want to be in the Olympics? And they're like, yeah, I do. And yeah, I think that's how it goes.
Hey,
I also play bocce, and it feels like bocce ball and curling are very similar. Yeah, let's see your podcast candles.
Yeah. Where's my lighter? There it is. While we're lighting candles and talking curling and bocce, I know we're live right now.
Yeah.
I don't see the chat.
Mine is working that way too. I pulled it up on YouTube though.
You don't have the chat? How do you not have the chat?
Maybe no one's in there.
I don't have it either. No, it's here, Sean.
Can you just
see? How do you click on it? Or how do you click on it?
It
says
go ahead.
Good. No, it says 3.
I have the same issue as you, Sean. I cannot see the comments, but you should just pull up the YouTube somewhere.
Just go.
And I know it's more annoying unless you want to reload your StreamYard, but I have the same issue currently.
I don't understand.
None of the listeners have any clue what we're talking about. But Sean and I cannot read the comments on.
Yeah, James, what'd you do?
Normal overlay.
I didn't do anything.
3 people in studio chat, and then it says start the conversation chat with everyone in the studio. Messages are cleared after each session. Viewers will not see these messages. So it seems like we're like in the
you're not in the waiting room. Part. You're in here.
Yeah, I am definitely in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would just reload, Sean, if you want, or pull it up on your phone or something.
Okay. There you go. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to answer the one question. Jason Siebenthal here. Dumb question. When is the Kings Beat podcast meetup? We have not established a date yet because the schedule is like
never.
I'm holding on for dear life here, people. Like I'm working a lot, a bunch of different stuff. And like, even when I'm not working, I'm still at work and doing other work stuff. So yeah, I'm working on it. It will happen. It will happen very soon. Exactly.
Commitment to the bit. Commitment to the bit. It's going to keep going.
Okay, welcome into the Kings Beat podcast. Thanks for joining us. If you're just hanging out and you don't mind, can you give us a thumbs up? That would be greatly appreciated. Let's see. Can I make the camera do weird things? Yes. Boom.
Wow.
Boom. Roasted. I can also, I think, make the camera celebrate. Let's see. Maybe not.
Love it when Grandpa learns technology.
Yeah,
this is awesome.
Very much what this feels
Son
like.
of a bitch, they're calling me. I'm not a grandpa yet. Come on, bastards. Jump on board with the Kings Beat. Subscribe to the channel here. Do all that stuff. The same thing what we always say. We will have a meet and greet coming up soon. I'm working on it. I have a location. I have a commitment from the person that we have the location at. I just don't have a date yet because I've been going crazy. I haven't seen much of you guys, and we need to figure out what date works for all of us so we can go out there and do it. Right? Okay.
This is news to me. This is great.
This is not news to you. We talked about it last time.
I thought it was a maybe last time. I think you make it sound like it's more solidified.
Oh, no. I've hung out with the owner, and yeah, he's in. Yeah, we're good. It's in downtown Sacramento. We'll figure it out. Yeah, he's my dude. Yeah, we're in. Okay. Again, welcome into the Kings Beat podcast. We've got a lot to talk about. The Sacramento Kings got buried, absolutely buried yesterday by the Oklahoma City Thunder. They did not perform well at all. They have been hit and miss throughout the first 9 games of the season. They're 3-6 on the season so far, kind of about where I thought they would be if you look at the schedule. And I don't want to tell you what I think that they're going to be at after 20 games because that's not a nice number either. But we're getting all kinds of things to talk about. Let's begin sort of back it up a bit. We had a transaction earlier in the week. Isaac Jones was waived and the Kings brought in Precious Achiuwa. Precious has now played in a couple of games for the Kings. Not really moving the needle one way or another. But just what are you guys' thoughts on the Precious Achiuwa, Isaac Jones situation and how it played out over the last week?
I mean, they definitely needed size. They clearly needed another forward, and Russell Westbrook is your starting power forward right now. Backup power forward, I don't even know. Like, that's where Isaac could have fit in, but obviously was not. And I'd imagine that if he was playing up to that standard in practice, that he would have been rolled out there. Instead, they go and get a guy that really is not that much older than Isaac. They're pretty close in age. And I would say similar struggles and strengths in a way, but Precious really has, it feels like, more athleticism, more length, and just size overall, I would say, and NBA experience as well, having been on a couple different teams up to this point. So, yeah, I mean, I see the logic of bringing Precious in. I don't think it really changes anything. I'm skeptical about how much he can actually provide, but for a free agent pickup, I think it's solid and fills somewhat of a need that the roster had. Now, the conversation of Isaac being the one that gets waived, I think, is maybe a little bit separate and brings up of like, well, should Doug McDermott, like, I know Isaac was a non-guaranteed contract. That's part of why this happened, but I think you could easily have a conversation of should Doug McDermott's contract have been guaranteed, and they could have gone different directions, maybe to keep Isaac around. But it's not like Isaac was, some world beater, to be honest. Like, I don't think that he had played phenomenally up to this point. There were questions about if you're trying to move him to the 4 when he's been a 5 his whole career. That's like the definition of sort of being a little bit of a tweener right there. And the 3-point shot definitely still continues to need to be developed, but wasn't obvious minutes for him at this current moment. And Precious potentially could fill that spot a little bit while Keegan's out here.
Yeah, Sean, What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, let's start with the good. I mean, first of all, I'm a little surprised he was available. It kind of speaks to how kind of teams are building their NBA rosters. This is a guy who is very, very physical, very strong, and brings a lot of experience for someone who's just a year older than Isaac. Playoff experience, starting, coming off the bench, really knowing how to play that type of role. I think it's somebody that certainly Doug, for whatever reason, as we documented here before, doesn't go to Isaac Jones. I think he has no problem in going and has faith in going to somebody like Precious Achiuwa based off of his veteran experience. I think that's first and foremost. I think he's much more of a physical player. That being said, I think the upside was probably higher than Isaac, but when you're talking about somebody who's so buried on the roster and can't really get opportunity with this team, then you go with who you're comfortable in getting out there. And to their credit, they went and found that guy. I think it's puzzling. I think too much like Brenden, I would have probably have liked to seen that be Doug McDermott. I know shooting is at a premium in this league, but he is such a one-sided player, and I just think there is upside with Isaac, and I think because you are as a team so very much lopsided in the way you're built, I think the two of them could coexist. I think actually Isaac being around Precious would help him, and I actually think Isaac stretches the floor much better than Precious, who I think is a disaster from the perimeter. So it is what it is. Isaac ended up in probably a better situation in Detroit. He was gobbled up very, very quickly, and it's a shame, but it's a shame for someone like him with Sacramento because I think he could become a piece on the team, not talking like an all-star, but at least a rotational piece. Had something I think to offer, and it's funny. I ended up talking to 3 teams this week about something completely different, just kind of gauging things around the league. And it was in the wake of that. One was actually right before it when it was reported earlier. And forgive me, I don't remember when it was first reported, and who it was, but when it was theorized that it would be Isaac who would get the cut, and that Precious had worked out for Sacramento and was on the verge of signing with Sacramento. I know one team who was like, what the hell why would they do that in terms of cutting Isaac Jones? And then I didn't even have to ask. Other people would just be like, say the same thing. Like one person called it I wouldn't go this far, but saying it's a dereliction of of a front office decision to let somebody like that walk. And I think in what they're talking about is what other things are set up. And again, there's so many of these moves that are done with cap space in mind, the aprons, luxury tax, all that. So Isaac didn't make a whole hell of a lot. So it unfortunately, those business decisions come down to it. I know there's people who are still scratching their head over seeing Jonas Valanciunas in a Nuggets uniform when he would obviously, play such a key, crucial role for Sacramento. I get it, but it basically comes down to dollars and cents. And sometimes when that happens, it doesn't make much sense.
Okay, so I'm going to handle like a couple of the nuanced stuff in this discussion. First and foremost, Isaac Jones is on a non-guaranteed like league minimum deal for a second-year player. So like basically less than $2 million. I am kind of surprised that when he was waived, he was actually picked up off waivers. That is not something that typically happens, to be honest with you. Look around the league. Players get waived all the time. They usually hit waivers. I think they've got to be on waivers for 48 hours, and then they're gone. And then they'll resign. They'll sign with a different team sometimes, or they'll go to the G League or whatever. But rarely do you see a player get claimed like this, which again, it happens, but it's not something that's like super, super typical in the league. Why Doug McDermott and why not Doug McDermott? Why not Dario Saric? Because that's the questions in the chat. First and foremost, Doug McDermott, for whatever reason, and this isn't like me trying to throw shade at Doug McDermott, but last season the Kings gave Doug McDermott a non-guaranteed deal. He was at like $750,000 until January, and then they guaranteed his deal for the rest of the season. I don't understand why they didn't do that this year. Like again, Doug McDermott hasn't stepped on the floor in 9 games. So I don't get why they gave him a guaranteed contract. It's not like he played so much last season or played so well last season that you were like, oh, we got to have Doug McDermott back. I like Doug. I think he's a good dude. I think he's a good locker room guy. I think, fans like him, and he brings some excitement on occasion when he goes crazy and starts hitting all kinds of threes. But at the same time, he's not playing on this roster. At least he's not through the first 9 games where you're missing one of your starting forwards and you've been missing other players the entire time. If he couldn't get on the floor now, I don't know when he would get on the floor outside of it just being like, hey, throw him out there for the last 6 minutes of a game where you're getting blown out. So I'm a little confused by that. And even, I have to be honest, last night they got blown out and Doug McDermott still didn't play. So what exactly are you doing there? Now, Dario Saric is different, and I'll explain really quickly why Dario is different. Dario makes like $5.4 or $5.6 million this year. They can package Dario in a trade, and for salary matching reasons, he can be valuable to them. He's an expiring $5 million contract. Doug McDermott can kind of fall into that same thing as well. He can be traded before the trade deadline. And again, if you look at Doug McDermott and you look at, again, Dario Saric together, you're looking at roughly $9 million in contract. And so you can easily trade that as a package with another player or with some other deal. If, say, you throw in Devin Carter's $5 million contract, now you're up to $14 million. You can go up, I think, $7.5 million above that because it's below $20 million. And so you can get a player that makes all the way up to like $22.5 million. So that's why they kept Dario Saric. That's why they kept Doug McDermott. Why they gave why they gave Doug McDermott a fully guaranteed deal is a mystery. Why they traded for Dario Saric and gave up Jonas Valanciunas, that's going to be another mystery, because at the end of the day, the Kings still had the cap space to actually go out and they didn't have cap space, but they had their mid-level exception and they had a trade exception. They could have got Dennis Schroeder without doing that deal first. So you keep hearing this, they had to clear room for Dennis Schroeder. Not really. He makes $5 million more. And if you think about it this way, they gave Doug McDermott 3.6, and now they're giving Precious Achiuwa another 3 point something. Like, they had some cap space flexibility, and the difference is not more than the difference between Dario Saric and what Jonas Valanciunas made. So I kind of get what they're doing here, but at certain points I don't. This team would be much better if they had Jonas Valanciunas on the court right now as their backup center. And that's whether, again, if you didn't sign Jonas, if you would have kept Jonas, you wouldn't have signed Drew Eubanks. That's a whole nother $3 million contract that you wouldn't have had to really worry about. So I'm confused why they did all of this. But I also know that they didn't want to run back the same exact roster they did last year. So sometimes this is what happens in the league when you switch management and when you switch coaching staffs. They wanted to get quicker. They wanted to get a little different at the backup center position. So that's the whole Isaac Jones thing in a nutshell. I wish him well. He's a really good kid. He's a player that I think had some talent, and the Kings just weren't able to be patient enough to kind of see it come to fruition, if it ever will. So we'll see if it happens for him in Detroit, where he landed. The next up thing that we have is this weird situation with Keon Ellis. And I'm going to run this by you guys here as well. Keon Ellis has gone from, hitting, I think 5 of 8 threes 3 games ago and playing like 27 minutes to playing like 15 minutes and then not playing at all until the fourth quarter in the game last night, when you were getting your ass kicked defensively and needed, 3-point shooting like you always do. I'm confused by the Keon Ellis situation. I asked Doug Christie about the Keon Ellis situation last night. He said it's more of a numbers game, that, they've got players that play his position, that, they have to get on the floor and they're just struggling to figure it out. But he also cautioned that when Keegan Murray comes back, it could get even worse. And I'm just wondering where you guys are at with this situation with Keon, because it's very quickly devolving into this dude's playing his last games in Sacramento. I don't see a way in which, unless things change very dramatically, that he's going to want to come back here and play for this team going forward.
I think in terms of where I'm at with it, yeah, it's a head scratcher. I think I honestly, I think it just comes down to Doug trying to figure out a lot of things. And I don't think that what's coming out of his mouth in terms of trying to explain some of the things and what he wants line up with the decisions that are on the court. When he's talking about how defense is going to get you on the court and get you playing time, that didn't work for Keon last night. So and it's been a Jekyll and Hyde type of situation since the start of the season. He's had one start, I believe. He's had a few games where he's above 25 minutes, I believe. A lot of games where they're very under 20 minutes per game. So I think a lot of it is matchup based. I think also, to Keon's credit, he spoke with our friend Chris Biederman of the Bee last night, and I think he said all the right things. I think he understands a portion of it. I certainly don't think he went into that game thinking, gee, I'm not going to play in the first three quarters. So I just think that there's a lot that happens in the course of the game. And to his credit, he praised what they were doing, especially in the first quarter, and how Russell Westbrook had it rolling. And they went with a certain unit for a while. But I think, much to the discussion we had last week, I think Doug is struggling with recognizing the facts recognizing when things are really getting out of hand. And you don't have to look very far. That second quarter was abysmal. I don't care if that is the defending champs. And I don't think, they did enough to just, you can call a timeout. You can do whatever you want, put a hard foul on somebody, just recognize when things are really, really rolling. And the way Isaiah Hartenstein really got off in that second quarter, particularly, was concerning. And I think a lot of times, he's a former player himself, and he would know better than me, but I think a lot of times he tends to lean on his players figuring it out. You do that early in the season, more so than maybe later in the season. But I think he mentioned today in practice that today was a communication practice, and we can get into some of those things a little bit later. But I just think they're really kind of figuring out a lot of things, and I think a lot of it has to do with just figuring out who they are as a team and what they want to be. I think you can say what you want your roster to be, but you also have to realize that some of those things that you want doesn't necessarily mean that that's what they're going to be. And I think that's what is really a struggle for both the players on the floor and the coaching staff as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're a horrible defensive team. Doug's quote yesterday on the rotations was, whoever plays defense, that's going to be the rotation. And obviously that's not really playing out with Keon. I also think they're a team that doesn't shoot enough threes. They're 9th in 3-point percentage, but they're 28th in attempts. They've taken 30 a game. They've had instances of being in the low 20s, and Keon plays into that. But it is a little bit tough when you try and sit down and be like, okay, well, whose minutes is he taking, right? Because this is a conversation we had when Russell Westbrook was brought on. James, I think you and I were talking about this a bit last night, is like when Russ came in, everybody was wondering whose minutes is he going to take? And the answer has been Keon. And maybe Neek would see the floor more or something like that, but he's played a decent amount. The answer has been Keon. And to Russ's credit, Russ, the last 2-3 games, has probably been the best player on the floor for the Kings. He's been phenomenal. I think beyond anything that you could have expected for a minimum contract guy. I think Zach has to be out there. Obviously, we're talking about the lack of spacing and shooting on this team, like a couple of slow games for Zach, but he was starting on an absolute heater. Domas obviously out there, not even really competing with Keon. It becomes like DeMar, Dennis, and I think Malik has to be out there. I think Malik has also been one of the best players. It feels like they actually get back to their offensive system, and it feels like there's a flow to everything going on out there, offensively specifically, when Malik is out there, even if he has some defensive shortcomings. Like I just, because again, the question is, where do the minutes come from? And I think that's where it gets a little bit more difficult. But I think my answer is just limiting. DeMar doesn't need to be playing 36 a night, and lessening that. For example, Dennis doesn't need to be playing 32. Like, I will hear the argument about maybe Keon should just be playing in place of a lot of Dennis Schroeder minutes, but I think it would come from everybody. It's DeMar getting cut down a little bit. Maybe you keep Zach there, but Dennis getting cut down a little bit. Maybe it eats into Russ's minutes a little bit, but I just think you could lessen the load on some of those top guys, and that's where you could find a little bit more opportunity for Keon.
Yeah. There's a question going on in the chat right now that I'll address. NBA guru Zach, you're saying February 9th is a date that they can sign Keon to an extension. That is not what I heard at all. I heard that there's a specific reason with Keon's contract that allows them to sign him at any time during the season. And that is from, I think it was Keith Smith, but also I also think Bobby Marks might have said something about that as well. The research that I've done on it says that you can sign him at any time, that they do not have to wait till the end of the season. They do have to get him to say yes, though. And to be honest with you, I know very specifically there are teams in the league that are looking at him and just like licking their chops, saying, "Okay, this is just another Sacramento Kings gaffe," and they're very excited that he is going to be available. And there are a ton of teams with mid-level exceptions this coming summer. There's a ton of teams with cap space this summer, and Keon Ellis will get his money, whether it's in Sacramento or it's elsewhere. And I mean, I literally have a team that I know that would sign him today if he was available.
Yeah, well, there's more. There's multiple, and the funny part about that is it's almost like that, like a cartoon where you see somebody's making food and the little stream of smoke or steam or whatever, the scent is animated and it rolls into somebody down the street or whatever, and they catch whiff of it. They're just waiting for that dinner bell to ring, and yeah, there's teams very much interested, and I think the league is interested to see how that plays out, because can he go from being this seldomly used player to all of a sudden be valued and featured? I think it's a lot of figuring out to do. But to your point earlier, Brenden, if you take all that aside and just look at the now, I'm about as big of a DeMar DeRozan almost apologist. I hate that it comes off that way, because I know he's a guy that is such a lightning rod for negativity. But there is no way that he should be playing upwards near 40 minutes a game. That doesn't do DeMar any favors. That doesn't do this team any favors. And we talked about, like, what does success look like for this group, and realizing that your most talented players you'd have to lean on. And yes, he is one of your most talented players, and they want to do everything they can to have DeMar DeRozan at his best, but playing him 38 minutes, even though he's conditioned to do so, that shouldn't happen. That should not happen. Starter, absolutely. There's no chance I'd bring him off the bench the way this group is built. But I would play him down towards 32 minutes. And if you're going over 32, 33 minutes, there better be a damn good reason for it. And so far, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, and one of the things that kind of stands out to me is, I get it that Doug Christie is trying to search, right? It's clear that he's trying to search for things that work together. But if I rewind back to the Denver game a couple of games ago, the combination of Nick Clifford and Keon Ellis were awesome. Like, they keep running this zone, right? And so the zone, when you put Keon Ellis and Nick Clifford up top and you let them wreak havoc on the opposition, you have a shot. If you don't do that, that zone is getting them lambasted nightly. Like, it's a layup line. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. Like, Nikola Jokic just stepped up to the top of the circle and started hitting one back cutter after another until the Kings were hemorrhaging. I mean, it was like an absolute embarrassment to watch how many teams are back cutting this team into like just destroying them. That's how they're just like, okay, if that's what you're going to do, we're just going to, because the Kings wings are not paying attention at all and letting guys cut right to the basket, right past them for dunks. I watched, who was it last night from the dunker spot? Harkenstein. That dude's career high in like 8 NBA seasons was 24 points. He dropped 33 on your ass. I don't get it.
Just like the easiest dunks you've ever seen. Sean, I watched a bunch of videos you posted at practice today. Like, they sounded even honestly a little bit embarrassed, like watching that back. It was horrible defense. Like, I agree with you. The zone hasn't looked good, but I think overall their defense has just looked freaking horrible. They're 27th in defensive rating last I checked. And they have no personnel to be good at anything in that aspect. Like, the thing they were doing well early was turning teams over. I think that's slowed down a little bit. They are horrible on the offensive glass or on the defensive glass.
Your best skill guy is on the bench.
Yes, everything is bad defensively, and Keon Ellis is not playing.
And by the way, and I think you even brought it up on social last night, Brennan, we're saying all this and realizing that, Keon Ellis was trash in the fourth quarter for the most part. He was not good. And I think a lot of that just because you're coming in a garbage situation and you're playing with a lot of guys that probably shouldn't be playing with. So, just tough. Just really kind of a tough look. And look, I mean, let's be honest, we could be overreacting. This is the defending champs that came in here. I hate being the guy that always kind of lately played Johnny Optimistic, but it's funny, like despite all these like negativity things, like I actually think that there's good in a lot of this. Like they have played well at times. They have shown the ability to give a damn. And I think one of the things that Doug is really struggling with is seeing his team say the right things and not bring it to the court. Doug, I think the cynical say, saying the same thing to the point of Brendan saying, quoting him last night, saying defense gets you on the court. All that aside, like they're all saying the right things. And then Zach LaVine even said it today after practice is like, they don't stick to the script, and they get away from what they're doing. And I think one of the really telling things he said, I asked him, I said, what's maybe one of the one or two biggest things that you guys are still trying to figure out as a unit? And he talked about trying to get everybody involved. I think that speaks right there to not knowing roles on this team, because you have so many talented players that are known for doing certain things, and you're trying to get everybody involved as opposed to recognizing the moment and how things are going. For example, Russ has been probably next to Zach, has probably been the biggest bright spot on this team. And who would have thought we would have said that?
I would not have thought that, but yes.
He's probably been the unsung hero of or maybe not even unsung. I mean, people are noticing it, but he hasn't hurt them like his critics would think that they would. Now, granted, has it led to success? No, but you can't point to him and say he's the problem. He's been exceptional.
He might steal Malik's Sixth Man of the Year.
Right. Or, I mean, we haven't talked about Dennis Schroeder very much, and I think for the past few games he's been really on a milk carton. And I had asked, Doug about that. Like, he's never struck me as a player who, if the shot isn't falling, gets away from doing what he's known for doing, which is being an agitator, being a defensive stalwart, being able to move the ball. And let's face it, guys, the ball hasn't been moving. Defense has been trash. 94 feet, we documented that last week, isn't what it should be. And I'm wondering if granted, he got going in the fourth quarter. Russ was a big reason for that. He was like 3 of 10, I think, going into the fourth quarter before Russ got him going, and he hit some open shots, hit some threes. They beat they're shorthanded, and they beat a shorthanded Warriors team. Great, but for the first 3 quarters, he wasn't good. And I think the only difference is in how you define whether he was good in that game is really just a matter of him hitting shots. And I don't like that, because I know that Dennis Schroeder does other things than score. He doesn't need to score to say that he had a good game, but him hitting shots, people go, oh, Dennis had a good game. He didn't. So outside of 1 fourth quarter where he hit some shots, greater part of 3 games, he's been rather absent. And I don't know what to attribute that to.
Yeah, I think the Dennis Schroeder thing is interesting. You brought up the Russell Westbrook thing, though, before we get too far away from that. I have not enjoyed watching Russ in the past, but I'll tell you right now, he's super fun to watch. And one of the reasons why he's super fun to watch is unsustainable. And that's it. He's shooting 45.7% from 3 on 5 attempts per game. He's never, ever, ever shot above 35.6%. And the only time he did that was a 21 game shot with the Clippers. Outside of that, he had one back in 2016-17, he shot 34.3, and that's it. Nothing above 34% the rest of his career. So at age 36, almost 37, I have a tough time believing a guy is going to continue to shoot like 13.4% better than he did last year from 3. It's fun. It's cool. He's rebounding. He's getting assists. He's attacking. He's bringing so much spirit, but a lot of what's happening isn't sustainable long term, or at least it hasn't been sustainable through a 17-year career before this season. And so that's one thing that my biggest concern isn't so much a little bit of the Keon situation or anything, and a few of the other situations that are popping up. But the real question is is this just about winning games this season and winning games so Doug Christie and Scott Perry don't get fired right away? Because I'm confused, because that's what it feels like, that they've handed the team over to Russ and said, man, you got to carry us or we're shot. And I don't like feeling that way about what's happening, because my question is what offense are they running? How does Keegan Murray fit in once he's back? Will Keegan Murray get 7 shots per game now? Or will they actually realize that they have to start planning for something beyond the 25-26 season where they're 3-6? And so that's one of my concerns is it's one thing to have to scramble until you get your players back. And you're going to have this moment where they do get a bunch, or they get Sabonis back, they get Keegan Murray back. And then there's going to be an adjustment period there where they're trying to learn how to play with those guys again. But what is the end game? Because I'm very confused by that right now. If it's just to try to win 41 or 43 games this season, that seems a little short-sighted.
Well, I mean, yeah, but he's on a 1-year, non-guaranteed deal. You know what I mean?
But that's not the only guy. There's 3 of them that you're doing the same exact thing with.
When it comes to Russ, I mean, you said they're not sustainable with the jumper, and I hear you. Even if that's not sustainable, his impact on this team is beyond him hitting shots. He's having an incredible impact on this team. He brings an edge. He brings a aura about him. He's giving a damn defensively, which a lot of these guys don't. And he's not a good defender, but he plays with such a passion that so many of these other guys don't play with. That's the shit that's contagious. That's the stuff. His rebounding has been, I mean, how does a guy go out there and get 16 rebounds at 36 years old?
He's amazing. No, I get it. I get it.
The not sustainable jumper, even if that goes away, who cares? I'm not worried about shots for everybody else. Russ, continue to do what you do. What did he say last night? The first thing, he called out his own turnovers. You know what I mean?
He had 7 of them.
Yeah, I mean, they were bad. They were terrible. And he called it out. No one else is. It's he's the one out there that's doing so many different things that's impacting the game beyond scoring. And so, to your point, James, what's the end game? Trust me, Doug Christie shouldn't be looking at year beyond this, because he may not be here beyond this season if things go terribly bad. So, I think the answer to that is they are only concerned with this season. I think when it comes to Keegan, when he gets back, if he wants shots, take them. It's incumbent upon him to be aggressive. And we saw that in the preseason. We saw him look to take more shots, and he was doing it. But how's the ball move? If Zach LaVine is telling us tonight or at practice today that they're figuring out how to get people involved and how to incorporate other people into and stick to the script, that's a problem to me. You should have a fluid offense where the ball moves. If you're open, take the shot. You got scorers everywhere. You don't have great shoot. We've talked about, we don't have great 3-point shooters on this team, but they do have scoring ability on this team. If one guy gets 4 shots one night and 16 the next, that shouldn't matter as long as the offense is free flowing and beautiful, which is what Doug wants. But you could, like I said, that's another example of wanting something and not having the players to actually deliver it.
Hey, I'm going to say this too about Russ's 7 turnovers last night. 5 of them came because he tried to get in a pick and roll with Drew Eubanks or with Maxime Reynaud, and he realized very quickly that they aren't DeAndre Jordan, they aren't Nikola Jokic, they aren't Domantas Sabonis, they aren't Zubats. I don't know what they are, but they can't catch in the pick and roll, and it was just a disaster. They just,
and it showed that they've played with him for not even 10 games. So
yeah. I mean, the 7 turnovers, I get it. That wasn't. I'm not even blaming Russ for that. I'm just looking at a bigger picture, saying, man, you're handing the team over to a guy who will be 37 next week. Really, you've handed the team over to him, and he's doing great things, and I get it. But we have to talk about sustainability. Like, what's the future of this team beyond like the first 20 games of the season? And I don't know that I have the answer for that. Sorry, Brenden, go ahead.
You're good. I don't think there is a great answer. I think it's what we've talked about before, that this is kind of a waiting period for these 2 years. You're waiting out these contracts, and I think in the meantime they are trying to win as many games as possible. I don't know that I agree with that, but that seems to be the attempt here. And to the Russ conversation, I think part of the reason that he's been able to be so good is that, you know, these other places have said, like when Doug said early in the year, like, we just want Russ to be Russ, right? I saw like a compilation of his previous coaches and Mike Malone saying this and other previous stops where their coaches are pretty much saying the exact same thing. But it feels like this is the greatest example of that. And maybe since Washington, Russ, like we're talking about him maybe being the best player. He gets to go out there and function like he's the number one sometimes. And so
all the time, I don't know, not sometimes, the whole time he's out there.
It legitimately it is the truest form of letting Russ be Russ. And you're seeing that there's still something there. Like it's crazy. He's way outperforming a minimum deal. But I think allowing him to have the ball in his hands, and, you know, when he was on Denver or the Lakers, like those turnovers hurt a lot more. You know, those sting a lot more when he's playing 12 minutes and he has 3 of them and you're like, what the hell? But you live with it a lot more when he's adding everything else that he has for the Kings and playing as many minutes, you know, when he gets to even it out. He's also the prime example of a certain amount of defense really is effort, because you said, Sean, like, he's not necessarily a good defender. He just tries his ass off and manages to be good there. He's also an extremely smart player. I know sometimes they look like he's out of control and things like that, but I think we've seen him be super high IQ, like just recognizing mismatches and ways to feed that, or whether that's on or off ball defensively. I think he's been great on a level that I really did not expect at this point in his career.
Yeah, I'm like, look, he's been a joy to watch. He's been and tremendous, because I've watched plenty of Russell Westbrook throughout his career. We haven't seen like the jumpers off the side of the backboard and the like horrible shot selection. I haven't seen any of that. Like right now, I think he's playing extremely well. He's been great to the media. He's talked to us and gave really insightful answers. He is, and I think this kind of plays into a larger discussion with this team right now. He just surpassed Jason Kidd as the greatest rebounding guard in the history of the NBA, which is a crazy feat. It is. I mean, and I know people say, "Oh, Josh Hart's a better rebounder." Like, look at the career. The career is 17 years of being the best rebounding guard in the league. So, like, shout out to Hart for being great. To Josh Hart, right? There we go.
Yeah.
For being a great rebounder. He is a great rebounder, but Russ has done this forever, and he's phenomenal. And he just set the record. He is the greatest rebounder of all time for guard. But I think it also plays into the fact that when Domas isn't there, or when you have Drew Eubanks go out there and play, 25 minutes or 26 minutes, whatever it was last night, and come away with 1 rebound, if this team doesn't have Russell Westbrook, they're getting out rebounded by 30 every night. Like, that's a problem. And that, you know who that's a problem for? It's a problem for Keon Ellis. It's a problem for Dennis Schroeder. It's a problem for Zach LaVine. These guys that are not good rebounders for their position. And Russ is the guy who is actually keeping you alive in those situations. But again, I'm going to keep saying my complaint or my concern is about sustainability. Like, what exactly are you creating? I mean, if you want to sign Russ to a 3-year deal right now, okay. Like, that's fine. That's fine with me. Like, go ahead and sign him. Go ahead and sign him for 2 more years. And, if you end up trading Malik Monk or whatever, I mean, the dude has been spectacular. But at the same time, there's going to be a point where he's going to shoot 25% from 3 for like 2 or 3 weeks straight and come right back down to earth, because that's the laws of averages. And, there's a very good potential for that to happen.
Yeah, again, I think it's like fun and enjoyable right now because there are low expectations for this team. Like, it's been an enjoyable experience, I guess you would say, to an extent. But I just don't know that our other, championship caliber teams looking and like thinking, hey, yeah, Russ is going to be a great fit on our team. Like, maybe that's somebody we want at the deadline. Like, I think this role is so specific for part of the reason that he's thriving like this, but there's also a ceiling on a team led by Russell Westbrook in 2025.
I agree. Okay. We've had all kinds of stuff in the chat. Somebody asked, when is Keegan Murray? When are we going to get an update on Keegan Murray? I don't know. You were at practice today. I don't think it came up, right, Sean? Keegan Murray, I looked. It was October 13th that he went in for surgery. They said 6 to 8 weeks he would be reevaluated.
No, 4 to 6 weeks. 4 to 6
No,
weeks.
4 to 6. My bad. No, 4 to 6. You're right. So 4 to 6 weeks puts us at late this week is 4 weeks for reevaluation. But he's still wearing a brace and it still looks like he's healing. I'm going to guess he's nowhere near ready and it's probably going to be closer to 5 to 6 weeks before he's, back on the court. He still has to go through a return to play protocol, which means he's got to play 5-on-5. He's got to play 3-on-3. He's got to make sure that his hand can hold up without it being, extremely painful. Right.
I think that cast will come off. If I think it'll come off this week. And he's going to play with a something on his thumb. He had talked to us about like what that return to action would look like in terms of
he played with it before.
Yeah. And so look, we're not even at the 10 game mark. I think it was a minimum of 10 games.
12. I think it was 12. 12 to 20 is where I had him missing.
Yeah. I think he's very close. I'd be honestly shocked if it gets to 12 or 13 games. I think it might be around the 12 game mark. I thought it could be 10, but
so
we'll see.
You understand 12 games is like Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. All right. I mean, it's for reevaluation. Yeah.
Right.
It's not for a return.
Yeah, and to what you were saying too, to your point though, there's no practices within that time. I mean, you play Sunday, off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday you're playing. So with that in mind, that's probably a tough turnaround time to be able to get somebody back like that. But after that Wednesday game, things can open up a little bit.
Yeah. And someone brings up ligaments take longer to heal. The guy had full surgery on the ligament. So, I don't know, like recovering and having a ligament heal up naturally versus surgery. I don't know. All I know is that the original idea was 4 to 6 weeks, and that was from October 13th when he had surgery. So, it's not going to, I don't know how easy this is going to go. It's his non-shooting hand. I guess that's one good thing. But you need two hands to rebound. Unless you're Drew Eubanks, which I saw him try to snare a rebound last night with one hand. It's like, all right, maybe two hands. Maybe that would help you get more than one.
You talked to him today and you posted a video, and at one point he's like, they're talking about the pick and roll and offensively, and he's like, yeah, you already know where I'm going. He's like, I just try to get me the ball and I can get to my hook, and he said some other things, but he started with the hook, and I'm like, oh shit.
We
don't need to see it again.
He connected on one of them. It's a tough watch for that, but shout out to him. I'll be honest, I hadn't looked at Drew Eubanks' career scoring high ever when he came in, and so bad job by me, but I looked over at James at one point and said he must be approaching his career high. Isaiah Hartenstein's career high over his, what was it? It was 24 for how many years, James? You just mentioned it.
Yeah, it was like he had set that like 4 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Eubanks is what, 20? His career high is 27, and I wouldn't have guessed that it was higher than Hartenstein coming into last night. So,
well, he did have that.
Ironically, he did it against the Thunder.
Was he with Portland?
I don't know where he was at.
Okay. Well, at Portland, he averaged 14.6 a game for a bunch of games. I mean, it was a decent sample size. Yeah. So. Okay, let's get the Kings are 3-6. We've gone through that. We've gone through the Keon Ellis situation. My dog is barking. I'm not sure why, especially since all other 3 members of my family are here. So like somebody,
you told him to muzzle him before the pod too.
I did. Well, that was the other dog that was barking. Yeah. But this is the little one. Okay. We've talked about Keon. We've talked about the Isaac Jones situation. Ja Morant. What do we got? Ja Morant is not having a good time. Hates his coach, I think is the term that's been shared, that he hates his coach in Memphis, does not want to play for him at all. It kind of feels a little bit like he was attached to Taylor Jenkins at the hip. And when Taylor got fired, it kind of set off this whole thing in motion a lot in the same way that it did with De'Aaron Fox when Mike Brown was fired. Except for, I don't think De'Aaron Fox had any problems with Doug Christie. Ja Morant certainly has problems with his coach right now and does not want to be there. So how long do you think this thing takes to wind down, or are they going to trade him? Are they not? Are they going to fire the coach? Because clearly there's an issue with the star player. And if all of this happens, would you, as someone who views the Sacramento Kings closely, think he's a good natural fit for the Sacramento Kings?
A lot of questions there. Raise your hand if you think Ja Morant's getting traded, by the way.
I do.
I don't think so. Right now, I guess.
Well, then they're going to have to fire the coach.
Well, how many times do you see a team pick the coach over the player?
Never. Well,
thanks. You just answered the question. Thank you.
Greg Popovich, but outside of that,
rarely,
yeah, Greg Popovich.
Rarely. So, yeah, I don't think, especially for Memphis, with the team that they have assembled, I don't see it. But if there was, I will say, I think there is a pathway for teams to get Ja Morant that exists now, but I think it's going to still be 4 first-round picks. I don't see how something like that. Now, I'm not saying all unprotected, but it's going to be tough.
Still, right now, would take 4 first.
Probably. I think it might be maybe a little bit lower, depending on what salaries are. But this is, I mean, let's face it too. That's not like that's a. Certainly, they have some good contracts on that team, and they have some promising young talent. I don't think you have to do a full factory reset on the Memphis Grizzlies to move Ja Morant, but that's obviously a big contract too. So I don't think that they're anywhere close to trading Ja Morant. It might just be a little closer than what they were previously.
It's a weird as hell situation because Ja was balling out right before all this went bad. And it was like 4 games, 5 games, something like that. But he had hit 2 game winners. I'm pretty sure I could have the days wrong in my mind, but time in between all holds the same. Like, I'm pretty sure he had a game winner Thursday. They have an off day Friday, and then all this shit happens Saturday, right? He comes out into the game, just looks unengaged, is passing the ball to people, and then just going to the corner and pretty much not giving a damn. And then after the game says, go ask the coaches. They said whatever they said. And so it seems like something happened on Friday, and it doesn't make much sense. And so you wonder like how it may smooth over, I guess, throughout the year. But also from Memphis' standpoint, like, they're going to be in the play-in race, sort of. Like, at this point, they're 4-6. They're in the 10th spot for what it's worth. Super early, obviously. But they have some okay talent. Like, Cedric Howard is playing great for them. Jalen Wells on that roster and some other guys, they're dealing with injuries. But that they have okay pieces. And I almost wonder, if you just try something else before the decision is, hey, we're going to move on from Ja, because they like moving on from Desmond Bane was, I think, a fairly interesting decision, but also you can't say no to that deal. I don't remember off the top of my mind, but it's absurd amount of draft capital in that deal back from Orlando. So you can't really say no, but you're taking a step back in the process of doing that. So it's kind of natural that they lost some talent here. They're changing their coach, but to me, like, Ja still is the centerpiece there easily. And sure, there's plenty of antics that come with Ja Morant, it seems, but that's still just, it's hard to get a franchise point guard. And they have that. I'd imagine that it would take a lot for them to be willing to move on from that. And you probably try and smooth it out first for a little while here before they really dive into, hey, we're going to move on from this guy.
Yeah, I think it's way closer than you guys think. I think that they're way closer to moving on from him. And at a certain point, like, I think a lot of teams in the league are looking at him and going, yep, I'm good. I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I think that there's enough between his injury situation, his contract, and his off the court antics are just like, it leads you to a conclusion of like, yeah, like if you're a good franchise, like, and you have a set, way that you do business, he doesn't abide by like the team concept. And so I think, like, personally, would I take the risk on him? Yeah, probably. At 3 years and $40 million each year, 40 something. I think it's 3 years and like 132 or something.
It helps that the Kings have literally no future right now.
Right. That's like, I mean, you look at the bad teams in the league, just perennial, whatever. Like, typically they don't have a point guard of the future. They don't have like, and so
this is a brilliant statement. Seriously.
No, he does not.
Like,
well,
for the audio side, chat says Ja does not fit Scott Perry's principles.
Yeah, this TJ in the chat. And just so everyone knows, they've painted the Scott Perry's 6 principles up in the inside of the locker room around the ring, up on the above the lockers. You're right.
Read them off? You want to rattle them off?
No, I think Brenden does, because Brenden studies principles.
Do I want to do this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Disciplined.
Let's see. Okay.
Disciplined, accountable. Gosh, guys.
I'd argue that Ja Morant is accountable. I would argue that. Discipline, maybe not, but James threw his
What the Sam Hill are you talking about?
I would argue.
This is a guy who got suspended for 8 games for brandishing a firearm, and then the dumbass went on Instagram as soon as he got back and started doing it again, got suspended for the rest of the year, and then when he did get back on the court, he decided to start chucking grenades. What do you mean he's accountable, Sean? He's the least accountable a-hole that we've ever seen in the league in the last 10 years. Anyway, that's awesome. Sorry. And I would still trade for him.
I would say by and large, he's accountable. Like, I feel like, look, yes, has he done some things? For sure. But I think when it comes to most things, he's
Hector brings up, he punched a kid at a McDonald's, right? A teenager, under 18, punched him. Well, go ahead.
True.
Hey, maybe he had it coming. I don't know. There's go ahead with the rest of them, Brenden. Discipline, certainly not. I mean, I think we can understand that. Yeah, no one will argue that.
This is a bad day for me because I'm really struggling.
Team oriented. I think he's team oriented.
Team oriented. Yeah, I would say team oriented. On the court, most specifically. What else am I missing, fellas? I am drawing a blank right now. It's crazy.
I threw my hat, so now I gotta.
You did.
That was an iconic moment. Yeah,
I'm so glad that it was able to bring that out of James.
Jesus, Sean. He's accountable. Accountable for what?
Come
on, bro.
You hold people accountable. He's accountable. He's fine. He's there. He shows up. He shows up.
He plays maybe 55% of the games in his career. He doesn't even show up, Sean.
I'm not worried about injury with him. I know he has been injured. I don't think there's anything there that chases me away from looking at him as a future piece for any team, let alone the Kings.
You don't think he's Derrick Rose 2.0?
No. Do you?
I have concerns.
No.
Knee issues, shoulder issues.
He does not look. He does not quite have the same athleticism already at this point. For what it's worth, I found them.
He is competitive. He is tough,
team oriented, disciplined.
Maybe not professional.
Accountable and then professional. Accountable and professional, maybe the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so this is the business of basketball. There it is.
Jesus.
Are you trading for Ja Morant if he becomes available?
I'm picking up that phone. Absolutely.
I am not trading if it's the 3 first-round picks. I'm not.
Well, yeah, I think whatever it comes down to the asking price. But yes, are you as a GM looking to acquire Ja Morant? Doesn't mean you will. Doesn't mean you can. Doesn't mean you walk away from the table. But I'm definitely pulling up to that table.
I'm
Okay,
pulling
so
up to the table, but I am probably thinking that the best way to build out this team is by sucking for a little bit if I'm fully in charge here, and I'd rather keep my draft capital.
okay, so I would say yes, I would trade for him, but this is kind of what I've heard. Just so we're on the same page.
I just noticed you turned your hat around. Like you've gone from throwing your hat, putting on a different hat, and now turning.
Well, the hat isn't broken in, so I'm not. I don't like a big tall hat. Okay. You've rattled me, Sean. You've rattled me.
Frazzled.
You told me that Ja Morant is accountable. I lost my shit. What in the world? Okay, so from what I know, the Kings do not mind their name being attached at all right now. But I think they view him in the similar way that they view Jonathan Kuminga. That if we're talking about a depreciated item, like someone who is below market value, and there's potential for you to go out and add that player on a low risk deal, that you would. And the Kings have a bunch of ways to get there. Like it's tough because there are certain players that it's tough to trade for because you don't have the contracts to add up. But when it comes to Ja, for whatever reason, look at this, Sean's going hat backwards. You could go, yeah, you could join the party. You definitely, when it comes to him, you could do something like Malik Monk, DeMar DeRozan. You could trade Zach LaVine straight across. You could trade Domantas Sabonis straight across. All of those things. Like there are ways to get there. And so, like, yeah, what do I think that the Kings are going to land him? I don't think so. But will they at least kick tires? Yeah, they will. And I guarantee you they will. They're not hanging up the phone if they get a phone call from the Memphis Grizzlies. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. So, yeah, it's just kind of just does go like all of what Ja does kind of is anti Scott Perry's six what does he call them?
Principles.
I don't know.
Principles?
6 principles. Yeah, I get the ad everywhere I go. I get the ad for it.
Since they did put those in the locker room, I also wanted in the practice court, where if you're in the practice courts where the two are in the facility above the weight room against the wall where the in between the area where the offices are up top.
Yep.
They now have a huge sign that says Sacramento Kings basketball. And
yeah, I heard they did a bunch of stuff.
It reminded me, if you've ever seen the movie 40-Year-Old, or I'm sorry, This Is 40, not 40-Year-Old Virgin. It's like the sequel to Knocked Up that focus on Pete and Debbie. If you haven't seen it, Judd Apatow, great movie. There's a moment in there where Pete, Paul Rudd's character, who operates a music label, spends like $20,000 on this huge sign that goes inside their office. And one of the characters goes, "We know where we work. Like, it's just a waste of money. We didn't need a sign for us to tell us where we work." And so that was kind of interesting. It's like Sacramento Kings basketball. But to your point, James, like, yeah, they're putting those things everywhere. They want everything to look professional. And yes, to set you off with accountable and with Ja Morant, you're right. No, I mean, accountable is defined as responsible, and he hasn't really been that. But I would argue, by and large, over the course of his career, a little bit more than that. And to me, the juice is worth the squeeze no matter what. For him, you're going to bet on the talent. And I think there's a asking price that will be very, very high. I'd be willing to have that conversation if I'm any team, let alone being the Sacramento Kings. And I just don't think he'll be traded. I think at the end of the day, cooler heads will prevail. Might cost you a head coach, but Ja Morant will remain a Memphis Grizzly in my mind. But if you're having that conversation, what does it look like to you if he is available and he has a for sale sign on him? What's it look like?
Yeah, I mean, matching salary is one thing. Then it comes down to draft compensation, and I don't know what you give up. Again, I think you do have assets that you could give up, and I do know there's some other players on that team that actually the Kings like, and like Jalen Wells being one of them. Like that's one guy that, like, if you can somehow get him out of Memphis, I think the Kings would be intrigued. I don't know if it'll be if they do chase him, it'll be like a 1 or 2 player swap or whatever. Do we have Sean Freeze?
I think so.
Sean is frozen.
The
Or he's
backwards hat threw off his whole vibe.
Or he's collapsed. I'm not sure.
I mean, I think part of the reason I said no is that maybe it'll go differently, but I kind of think they're just going to be really bad this year. The Kings overall. And where I get, I guess some sense of optimism about the future of the organization is like, okay, well, can you draft well then? And I just think that bringing Ja Morant in, you have to find all the surrounding talent. Are they going to be any better than they were when De'Aaron Fox was there? Like, I don't think so. To me, they're pretty comparable players, especially at this point. And so I think there's a lot of value in, hey, if you draft well, I think that's the path to turning this organization around rather than go trading for another guy that is pretty damn similar to what you quite literally just had.
Yeah, I just have a feeling that the Vivek Ranadive and this ownership group, they just don't want to go all the way backwards.
Right.
Like when we're talking about 2027, I don't think that they're looking at 2027 as a date that, you're going to be drafting 3 first-round picks or something. Like, I just don't. Like, that's not going to be ground zero for their rebuild. It's going to be when they think that they're out from underneath a bunch of bad contracts.
Right.
So, yeah. And they'll probably have other contracts that are sizable, whether they're bad contracts or good contracts. All right. I don't know. I don't think we got much more. Do we have anything else we have to discuss today?
Did we get the questions at all by chance?
I didn't start a bunch of questions. Maybe I started one early. Oh, that was it was this one about the Keegan Murray thing. Sean thinks he's going to be back like this week. I would be surprised if it's not like another 2 to 3 weeks, but I don't know.
You think possibly 3 weeks?
I don't know.
I don't
he
think
still has a brace on his hand. He still has a cast thing. I don't know. But like, you think you're going to be able to, shake it off and go right back out and play. I don't know. Let's see. Devin asked, will Sean interview Kyle Larson this week?
I believe so, actually. Yeah, he's going to have a parade in Elk Grove on Friday the 14th, starting at noon, and it begins at Old Town Plaza for his NASCAR championship. We actually interviewed him over Zoom. I think we've done it 3 or 4 times this year, but we interviewed him right before his race that he ended up winning the Cup championship, and a couple times on Zoom, and then one time at Sonoma ahead of Sonoma Raceway, or ahead of the Save Mart 350. That was pretty fun. So yeah, I think for him, incredible season, second Cup championship. Yeah, I think we'll be talking to him. I know either myself or Michelle Dapper will do it, but I think it's me on the 14th.
A parade in Elk Grove. What does that even look like?
He's done it before. So when his first Cup championship, they've actually he did that in 2021. And then in 2014, I think they gave him the key to the city. He has a Kyle Larson day, which is like November 22nd, I think. So yeah, it's right around there. And on the 14th, but yeah, it's just parade down whatever Old Town Elk Grove, I would imagine. I don't know the parade route, but yeah, should be good for him.
Okay. This is a question from NBA Guru Zach. How much is playing DeMar and Russ huge minutes just Doug trying to win badly to make him look good as an NBA coach for the future?
I don't know about the future, but
I mean, Doug is trying to win games. Yeah.
I hate to tell you this, the job of an NBA coach is to win games. Yep. Unless you're why am I drawing a blank? Will Hardy. If you're Will Hardy, your job is not to win games, but that's like the only coaching job I know in the league where you're not supposed to win games. Shots fired. Look, I'll say this. Any young coach, and by young, I don't mean by like his age, I mean by his years in the league. Any young coach is going to rely on veterans more than young players. Just go through the history of NBA coaches. It's almost 100% that when push comes to shove, they go to their veteran players because they have an idea of what they're going to get. Like, there's something about the unknown of young players, and that's fine. But like, when it comes to winning and it comes to keeping your job, like, you go to your veteran players. Now, like, the Kings don't have any super young players outside of, inexperienced players, and Nick Clifford and Maxime Reynaud and Dylan Cardwell. They don't have any other players that are young players in my mind. Like, Keon Ellis is
Devin, I guess.
Devin, but I mean,
yeah.
I mean, Brenden, my case still stands.
Yeah.
He's just not going to play. Like, he's not going to play huge minutes. He had carved out a couple of minutes there for a couple of games in a row, and I was kind of surprised by that.
Malik was out, right?
Yeah, but I think my point stands, though. Isn't Devin Carter like 24 years old? Yeah, I mean, they don't have young players. They don't have a guy who's 22 or 21, 22, 19. There are plenty of those guys in the league. The Kings don't have those guys.
He's another guy that, with Doug's comment about defense getting you on the court, like, you kind of go, he's a pretty good defender.
Yeah, he's a good defender. Yeah, I get it. But I think that's of the players he's chosen to play.
Yeah.
Whoever plays defense the best is going to play. And that's just a tough thing.
Because by the minutes, you would think that Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan were shut down defenders for this Sacramento Kings team based off of, that comment. So it's just tough. I get why fans get the mixed messaging. I get why, they get frustrated with what they hear and what they see, because, I mean, frankly, we do too, as somebody who have to ask questions to these guys all the time.
Yeah, and I think all of us, we try to ask questions that are relevant to the questions that are floating out there for fans. I mean, last night I asked very specifically about Keon Ellis and got the answer that Doug has for us. And again, like, people in the chat, you throw out there that the Kings have Isaiah Stevens and they have, who is the other one? Dylan Cardwell. Isaiah Stevens is 2 months younger than Keegan Murray. So he's 25 as of this week. And Dylan Cardwell is 24 on December 16th. Like, that's not a young player. I mean, it's an inexperienced player in the NBA, but it's not a young player. And then who's the other? Devin Carter is 2002, so he's 23. Nick Clifford's 23. And both of those guys will be 24 during this season. And Maxime Reynaud is the youngest at 22 years old. He'll be 23 during this season. Anyway, I guess let's finish with that. I thought Maxime Reynaud, he got some burn. He went out and at least he rebounded. He was a little loose with everything else, a little sloppy with the ball, and a little overexcited at the rim. But when your starting center gets you one rebound and you have a kid coming off the bench in his like fifth NBA game, I thought he played pretty well last night.
I thought he looked more comfortable. I still don't think he looks NBA ready, which is not a knock on him. I think that's very much to be expected. They assigned him to Stockton today. Stockton makes their season opener tonight. So I'm curious to see. Those are the minutes I'm just interested to track and see how he continues to develop. But I do think at very least you saw like some sense of progress from his very first NBA experience of playing in game one, which is absolutely insane that was the case. But it just, looked a little hectic very early on, and it still does, but just slightly less, I would say, a little bit more in control around the basket. And again, there's still a little bit of chaos there, but I thought looked more comfortable attempting to finish around the rim rather than just kind of never looking at it at times. The rebounding, the physicality. So a little bit of progress that I would say is encouraging, but I also opposing teams are going to go at him every single possession and probably going to succeed damn near every time. So there's still a lot of progress that needs to be made, but it did feel like some steps.
And he's getting stronger. I mean, he's a ways away. Go ahead, Sean.
Well, and look, he's already had some more opportunity than I thought he would get this early on because of the absence of Sabonis. So I think, it's good that he's had this rep. It's great that he's playing in the G League. Hopefully he'll get what I hope would be close to, maybe 10 games, maybe before the end of January at least, just to get him some action. But that's at minimum for me. I want to see him play a number of the games with them, but just because, as Brenden mentioned, just not quite being ready. He's got a lot of room to grow, and I think keeping him around the team is a good thing. But if he can steal action, he doesn't have to maybe go on the road trip with Stockton or anything like that. But if he can go out and be able to play maybe 10 games before, like I said, at some point in January, I think that would be huge.
Yeah, I totally agree. I do think, we talked about this early on, that I think that there is going to come a point in the season where you try to phase in Maxime Reynaud and phase out Drew Eubanks at some point. It may not come until, after the All-Star break, that type of time. And then it depends on how the Kings are in the standings. But I do like the overall game that he has. He's just super young on the court. That's what he looks like. He's got so much he's got to learn about the game. I think it's really good to go into a game where, you probably don't have a very good shot of winning, like the Thunder. You played really well in the first quarter, but after the first quarter, it's like, oh boy, landslide's happening. But get him out there and get him minutes and let him get destroyed by Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein. I mean, that's fine, because that's what he needs. He needs to learn, and he needs to understand what physicality is, and that even a guy like Chet Holmgren that, is like 165 pounds soaking wet, and he's 7'1" or whatever. He still plays with a force that Reynaud needs to learn. And Hartenstein too. He plays with a force that he needs to learn how to compete with. So it's good stuff. One thing I want to, Michael Fregren here in the chat, Keon is a perfect piece to add to a trade package so that the Kings don't have to add draft capital and a bigger deal. The problem with that, Michael, is that he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year, and it doesn't matter whether he's in Sacramento or he's somewhere else. If you can't, you don't have any extra rights to him this offseason. So it would be pretty difficult to use him as a trade chip, just because you don't have anything beyond this year. Let's see. All right. Let's hit final thoughts. What do you guys got for final thoughts?
I'm going back to the classic. I really got nothing going on, fellas, and I'm glad about it. No. I am straight chilling today, fellas. I just turned on in the background De'Aaron's Spurs debut. I'm gonna be watching some basketball throughout the rest of the day today, and
season debut.
Sorry, I said Spurs debut. Yeah, damn near feels like it, but season debut. So
I was not clocking that. How does how's it going for her?
We're very early in this game.
Oh, okay.
So very early. Yeah, halfway through the first quarter. Nothing spectacular so far. That's all I got. What about you, Jonathan?
Oh, I'm looking at James yawning there. Those are contagious, buddy. You want to come down the hill and have a little night out on the tent? No, you're in for the night.
Probably not. It's been a long week. I had a long week. No, not every week is a long week. This was a particularly long week. We had because Charlie Maloney, our boss, at our brand manager at ESPN 1320, retired. So shout out to Charlie, who's amazing. But we had a party on Thursday night for him. So game on Wednesday, party on Thursday, game on Friday. I'm a little beat up. So, but anyway, go ahead, Sean.
I don't really have too much going on. Yeah, I did the curling thing. I talked about that. Wish I had stayed in Tahoe a little bit longer. I actually didn't do it, but I saw it. I definitely.
Would you be I'm not one of sweeper or a?
I'd be the guy
to see that video, Sean, out there.
Not on ice. I can't handle ice. Also, like, I'd be the person communicating, like yelling, saying, I don't even know the directions. Yeah, harder.
You're the coach. You're the coach.
Yeah, I could be the coach. I could maybe be the coach.
No. I'm not one of your players.
Someone called me out for not having a sports injury. That wasn't true. I've separated my shoulder in football and broke my ankle in baseball, but they were all not nearly professional. So I'm going off of what I was told by people and have conversations I've had. So, that's all. I do have a little something. I will be on the pregame show tomorrow with Deuce and Mo. I think it's Deuce and Mo. I don't know who else is on that show, but Kyle Draper. I think I don't know who's going to be doing it, but
you going to San Francisco? No. What am I talking
just,
about? Leave me alone. Yeah,
it's
don't mind
home
me.
game.
Home game
Yeah,
only.
don't mind me.
So yeah, so I'll be on there talking junk with all with our friends.
Awesome.
With a Hurley hat?
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sweet. Let's see. Final thoughts from James. I don't really have any.
Looks out the
Look out the
window.
window. Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Dark.
Can I say something to you, James? You every time, and I don't know why I don't think of this earlier. I get so caught up in the routine of covering home when we're at a home game. Just everything I have to do throughout the game, blah blah blah. Every time you bring one of the ciders up, I always forget to get a cider, and it just irritates me because I always go, oh yeah, I should have grabbed it. It's the best.
Yeah.
Although the scent last night was not cider, that was weed. There was someone around our
down below
section who was just token away. So good for them.
Yeah, we have a little bit of that, like on occasion, the vape pen thing down below us in the actual stands. Hey, game at like if you want to go to Kings games, they're actually pretty affordable. Like I get the fast break deals, so sign up for those. Go get the fast break deals. So they'll send you a text, and it was $40 upper bowl, $80 lower bowl with no fees, so just flat rate and no taxes. Last night,
defending champions.
Against the defending champs, and my wife brought the boys and a couple of their friends, and I think they bought 3 together in one spot and 2 in another spot. The 3 together downstairs were like row E. Like that's a pretty good seat right behind the basket. It was kind of cool. So like if you want to go to Kings games right now, last night was the first non-sellout of the season, which is weird because it's a Friday night against the Thunder.
Defending NBA champions, NBA Cup. Did you like the court?
MVP.
I didn't like the court. It made my eyes go funky the whole night. I honestly, like I had like blurry eyes like most of the night. Whatever the court was, whether it was too bright or what, I don't know. It was weird.
See the Timberwolves court?
Oh my god,
hideous,
disgusting.
Yeah.
And who's the one that had horrible. The coat of red or pink? I forget who that court was, but that was interesting.
I don't remember either, but I know all the red ones. Pretty much all of them are horrible. I didn't mind like the color scheme of the Kings one. I just think like the lines are a little bit excessive of like the crown at the middle that keeps phasing further and further out. And the different squares of the court, I pointed this out to you, James, they're different colors of gray.
Yeah.
Like in every court around the NBA is doing this. Isn't a Kings specific thing, but I'm like, why do we have just slightly different shades of every color on this court? And yeah, that drove me a little crazy. But
they do it so that we'll talk about it.
That's exactly. But
I don't know. Felt like they used parts of previous year's courts. That's what it kind of felt like. Like it didn't look like there was a true pattern to the off different, grays.
Yeah.
So, and the crazy court that was orangish pink was Denver, I believe. Like the hideous one. Well, there's 2. Like the Minnesota court. Like, I mean, just the glare off the court. Did you see like the picture of Naz Reid and his whole face looked yellow because of the bounce off the floor, the lights off the floor, just really obscene. So, all right. That's going to do it for this edition of the Kings Beat podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with us. It was a cool live show. We're like almost an hour and 25 minutes in. We'll be back next week. We'll have more to talk about. Potentially, maybe Keegan Murray comes back. The Kings play tomorrow on Sunday. We've got like a 6:00 game tomorrow. If you're going to go to the game on Tuesday, just a heads up, it's an 8:00 game, which is god awful. And then they've got
what station is that on? It's on KCRA 3.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. First NBC game for the Sacramento Kings.
There you go. Yeah, an 8:00 game on Tuesday night, followed by a back-to-back at home for 7:00 game against the Atlanta Hawks on Wednesday. So it's going to be a busy week of Kings coverage, and we'll have it covered here. So thanks for tuning into the Kings Beat podcast. If you don't mind, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel wherever you're listening to your podcast. Give us a rating and review and all that stuff. So for KCRA 3's Sean Cunningham and Brenden Nunes from the King's Pulse podcast.
Anticlimactic.
I am James Ham, King's Insider for ESPN 1320, the King's Beat. We'll see you soon.